I'm Joan Landis, and happy to be with you again today. So we've discussed 7 signs of stress in children, and now we're going to talk about 7 solutions to stress in your family. If your child is having significant difficulties with those other things that we talked about, you may definitely want to get some professional intervention for them with a counselor or a psychiatrist or psychologist. But in the meantime, there's things that you can do as a family and as a parent that can often make all the difference in the world. One is to unclutter your schedule. Okay, so does your child have to be in music lessons and sports and musical theater and, hobbies and things like that? Sometimes we have this urge to create well-rounded children, and we overschedule and we push them to where they really don't want to go. And it really is a fallacy to think that colleges are looking for well-rounded children that have dabbled in everything. That's really not what colleges are looking for. They're really looking for a kid that's a standout in one thing, okay? So if you're concerned that they're not going to get into a good college, then what you should do is find something that your child really has a passion for, that he will throw himself at or herself, and you should really give support into that one or maybe 2 things that they can become really outstanding in. And so, having them be in soccer and basketball and, camping and all this actually may not do what you think it's going to do to get them into a good college. So sometimes that can help parents understand, oh, okay, I don't have to just keep them on this treadmill of things all the time. And of course, if your child has a passion for something, then they'll be a lot more self-motivated than if you choose the thing that you want them to excel in. So look at your schedule carefully. Look at the things that you're pushing your children to do. Look at why you're pushing your children to do things, right? So are you pushing your daughter to be a basketball star because you got cut from the high school team? Or are you pushing your son to get straight A's and become a medical doctor because you just never were admitted to med school? A lot of times we want our children to live out our dreams and to be strong where we have failed. And that's really an unfair burden to put on our children, that somehow they're supposed to make our dreams come true vicariously. So be very, very careful of that and notice, what are my motivations for pushing my child into all these things or pushing them so hard on one thing? Be really thoughtful, be an intentional parent, and have insight about your own motivations when you schedule your children with a lot of things. In my family, we basically said, you need to do 1 musical instrument and then you can do 1 sport. But that was basically it. If you have 7 children, that's going to run you ragged anyway. So just understand that that's maybe one way you can structure things. And children need a lot of downtime. And I don't mean downtime watching TV or playing video games. That's not what I'm saying. They need time just to kick around and not be scheduled every minute, and have some time to read books and draw and be outside and play with their dog and explore things and tinker with things. And if they're always in front of screens, or if they're always scheduled into activities, they actually lose the ability to entertain themselves. They lose the ability to organize games on their own with peers. And this is a significant problem in this generation born since the 2000s, is it almost seems like they can't organize themselves into spontaneous games like a lot of generations before did, because they're put in situations where adults are structuring everything for them 24/7. So if you want your child to learn how to be creative, to be a self-starter, to find out what they enjoy, you need to allow them time to discover that. And if they're overscheduled, and if adults are planning all of their activities, then that is not a good situation for them. Also, parents, look at your work schedules. If you're both employed, look carefully at how you could do something to have more time to be with your family. It may be a different kind of job. It may be that one of you can put your career on hold while you do some serious parenting. And I just know that if mom and dad are both scheduled, with careers that take a lot of time and energy, that just puts an edge to the family stress level, even if the kids aren't involved in anything else. But that just puts a burden on the family schedule and energy and resources. So think seriously, especially when your children are small. Well, you know what? I think teenagers need their parents as much as toddlers do. I really do. I think it's unwise to think that teenagers can monitor themselves and everything's going to be just fine. It's not, okay? And I'll just be very frank with you that the great majority of the times they're going to be into bad coping mechanisms, internet problems, social problems, and they need a mom or a dad to be there and guide them and just kind of monitor them. Or even an aunt or a grandparent or a very close neighbor. Teenagers need to be monitored and kept company. So there's those things. So, parents, be mindful of your schedules. The other thing too, hey, I know parents that they're not employed, but they manage to make themselves so busy that they still are not available for their children, right? We can get so involved in community activities or church activities or hobbies that we simply are not there for our children, either physically or emotionally. So I'm not just saying that careers are the culprit. It's this mindset that says my family is not my top priority. And if we don't have that mindset, then anything else will kind of, wedge themselves in, and you just have to be really vigilant about it. So I find in my family, I don't know why, but around the 1st of November, I just have to cut and slash schedules. For some reason, I think I can do too much at the beginning of the school year, too many obligations, and by about November, I'm like, okay, I'm running up the white flag because it's just too much. So don't be afraid to clean out your schedule just like you clean out your closets, all right? Cut back and do the bare minimum for a while and just notice if your children especially don't help, it helps their anxiety levels just to have one or more parents be able to just relax a little more and have their schedules be a little more flexible, okay? So that's the one thing. The next thing is to have regular routines to take care of their needs. So if they know that there's going to be some clean clothes somewhere in the house for them, it doesn't have to be folded up neatly in their drawers, right? I know in my family, we basically live out of laundry baskets. They're clean, but I haven't tried to make socks, I think, for years. We just have a laundry basket. And actually, here's the funny story. So when I had 6 kids all at home, including a set of twin boys, the socks were just absolutely unmanageable. I kept trying to figure out a solution for the socks. And I've done quite a few funny things. But finally, the solution that I hit on that seriously worked the best was we just all bought the same kind of socks. We all wore the same socks that Dad wore. And so the kids would fold their socks underneath and fit them in their shoes. And so we all, it sounds funny, but that's where we had to go. That's that B+ mothering. That's that good enough mothering that you just do it, roll the punches. The kids didn't care. And when the girls got a little bit older, they just didn't wear socks. But hey, you know what? Just do what you can. Don't feel guilty about it. Just move on. And so just understand that you can meet your needs, those children's needs and your family's needs in flexible and creative ways. And if you're not stressing about it, it will help them not to stress about it either. But things like meals and routines of affection, where you hug and kiss when you greet each other, when you say goodbye, maybe at night after you have family prayer, family devotions. You just have these routines of affection too that are very, very important. That's a very important need to meet, is that idea of touch, that physical touch. Another one, let's talk about physical touch. So soothe your child with physical touch. A lot of us stop touching our children right about the time they hit puberty. And we might not exactly be conscious of that, but suddenly we're just not touching these young people. And that's a real tragedy because they are starving for physical touch. That's a human need to have that physical touch. So if they're not getting it from us, what are they going to do? Right. They will either touch themselves or have peers touch them. Neither one of them is an ideal. So parents, let's make sure that we continue to hug and embrace our children. We can always play with our daughters, hair, comb it, braid it, and we can give back rubs to our sons and daughters, neck rubs, scratch their back, foot massages, pedicures and manicures for the girls, or, you can do pedicures on the guys. I mean, you can do manicures on them too, right? But probably not as much nail polish. And just find reasons to touch them. If you're the dad and you're a little bit hesitant to be touching your daughter, you can always sit next to her with a bowl of popcorn and, give her a little squeeze and just be with her. And then, you can roughhouse with your boys, wrestle with them. I mean, that's fantastic. If you're kind of more hesitant to connect with your kids physically, but if you'll hug them and enjoy them when they're young and just keep hugging them. I know my youngest daughter, she seriously she was 12 years old and she would still grab our hands and hold our hands in the store. And we kept kind of wondering, wow, I wonder how long this is going to last. But, she'd reach out to us and we would be right there for her. And so it's a cool thing. I think another thing that's really healthy too is cuddling in bed. If your children are scared at night, there's nothing wrong with letting them have that physical contact and comfort of being with mom in bed, cuddling with them, and just hugging and talking and snuggling. And then, if you really need to actually get some sleep, you can put a blanket on the ground next to you and a pillow and let your child just camp out there for a little while. And that can give a real sense of security to them and that connection that you are available and responsive to them and their needs. So physical touch is a really important one. It's a great way to communicate love and security and closeness. So don't stop touching your children when they hit 12, okay? Also, another way to provide physical touch is to provide dogs and cats, pets, horses, those type of things, because that's a very tactile thing to groom them, pet them, hug them, play with them. And so that is also an important area and avenue for getting physical touch and connection also. All right, another one is to actually talk to your children. There's interesting research that says that if we are employed, that we often talk to our children less than 20 minutes a day. And that simply is not enough. And so if we want to be the main influence on our children, we need to influence them. We need to visit with them. We need to listen to them. We need to converse with them and, make that love map more detailed and connect over feelings and help them work through things as kind of a therapeutic parent. So talking is very, very important. So don't forget to do that. Also, make sure your child has at least one healthy friend. Now, I always recommend that one friend is safer and easier to negotiate than a group of friends. If your child's really socially adept, okay, a group of friends might be fine. But for a lot of children, a group of friends can be overwhelming because suddenly everyone's jockeying for position and so-and-so likes me more than you, and you got to do this with her and she didn't do this with you, and it can just create more drama than it's worth. And so I always suggest to my children and my clients, if your child can just have one good friend, that's really all they need, and that's the easiest relationship to negotiate. So think in those terms. Another one is, as a parent, something that can really reduce stress is to accentuate the positive. Focus on your child's strengths. Comment on the things that they're doing well. And learn to laugh at things. It's like, oh, yeah, that was a major fail, and it's okay. We can laugh about it. And you're so good at this, and I really appreciate you for this. And I'm so glad you're my child because of this. And so focus on their strengths, and that can really decrease anxiety when the idea is you're safe to fail, that doesn't change my love for you, and let's just laugh about it and move on and learn something. So that's a good one. Another one is to relax your expectations a little bit. Again, you know, this topic of needing the star athlete or the star scholar in your family for some reason. If that's true, if you're pushing your child, you need to look inside yourself and say, why am I pushing this child so hard? What's the payoff for me? Why am I trying to compensate? What am I trying to compensate for? Why do I want them to be such a star? And sometimes, frankly, it's because we feel like we'd never achieved and we feel kind of worthless because of it. So be thoughtful about that. And then another thing this is what I always prescribe to parents when they're having difficulty with their children. The first thing I do is I prescribe together time with that child. Okay, what's that? Together time is time that is just one parent and that child, and no other children are involved. And you take away all the distractions, so you're not looking at screens, you're not answering phones, you're not answering texts, you're not trying to talk to Aunt Martha on the phone. And you and that child spend one-on-one time. And it should be around 20, maybe 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be more than that. But you focus on that child, focus on strengthening the relationship with that child by spending time one-on-one. And what you have the child do for your together time is you have the child beforehand write down 10 different activities that they would like to do for together time with mom or dad. And then mom or dad looks at the list and says, okay, we can shoot hoops. We can't go to Disney World. Sorry about that. But we can go out and get ice cream, whatever. And so, approve the list that they can choose from. And then you can either choose it ahead of time, like in a family council, or maybe that day, talk about it in the morning, or maybe even just have the child choose spontaneously, depending on your flexibility. But have the child choose what they would like to do. They get to run the show. They get to make the choices. They get to call the shots. This empowers them. And when they see that you will basically drop everything to focus on their relationship and focus on them, that is a huge deposit in their love emotional bank account. Okay, and so if you're having trouble with your child, they're acting out or they're feeling disconnected, one of the things I always recommend is together time. Let them choose an activity. You focus on them. Try to make it as pleasurable as possible. Don't grill them about their grades. Don't talk about their schedule tomorrow. Just enjoy them and see if you can get a couple of belly laughs out of that experience, okay? You can share stories about yourself or, family history, or just see how they're doing. And you could, whatever. Try not to make it based around money. Like, you don't want to go shopping for clothes all the time. Or you know what I'm saying? You don't have to spend money on them. That's kind of not a good message to spend to children, that you can only connect over, shopping or materialistic things. But that together time can be so amazing because you're building the relationship, and in the relationship is where healing occurs. Healing does not usually occur by yourself in some timeout room. It's together with somebody that you feel safe with and you connect with. So I know those are actually 8 things. You got 7 plus a bonus. But see if you can notice any of those ways that you can lower the stress in your family. And please pick at least one and put it into action and write about it on the forums. Let us know what's working for you, what makes a difference for you. And we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.